Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yusril. It is the 16th of March 2014, and welcome once again to the Tribble Timewarp. There have been several changes in the recent patches on Tribble, some of them major, some of them minor. We'll start with a minor change, which is that the graphics options have been tweaked around. This is curious, but you now have separate sliders, render quality, video cards, graphics detail, CPU. I assume we'll get presets at some point, but for the moment you're just using independent sliders, and you can actually see it dynamically adjusting as I move the slider. Even if I move the render quality, you can see which options it's altering there. It's also altering options on the fly, which gives you an interesting setup. If you look to the left of the screen, you can see what it's doing to the Unsullied reputation. That ship's got the most inaccurate name ever, except possibly the USS Invincible, which was last seen sending a distress call on its first ever mission. We also have the display on a separate tab, windowed maximize, full screen, all the usual options. Brightness calibration screen is accessible through that. I want my options menu back, thank you very much. Perhaps we keep the options menu up while you're doing the brightness calibration. Monitor vertical sync on and off. Brightness adjust you can actually do in as well. Get lost, Phineas. Thank you. And anti-aliasing, all the usual options. We'll just flick on MSA 8 times because I can. Audio is similar, it's been tweaked, although not as much. Interestingly, it's keeping things in scale. It does leave you with this dead space in the middle of the menu, so perhaps that does need some attention. And advanced options is what used to be more or less the old, well, advanced options. So all the technical and troubleshooting options, video memory limits. Interestingly, I don't see a way to select the render option anymore, which is surprising. You used to have the ability to flick between DirectX 9, DirectX 11 and select GPUs depending on what you wanted done. That has been removed is a little odd to me. Maybe Cryptic think they've got a handle on it, or maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place, who knows. Alright, that said, I can't really see it anywhere else, and everything else is pretty much as it was, so we'll okay that. And then head on into Sol, for we're going to head home to Earth to look at two of the major changes that are on Tribble at the moment. The first of these is Earth Spacedock. Now, if you dock up the usual way by actually, manually flying, or in this case skidding into the side of the dock, you will usually get the old Earth Spacedock. Enjoy this while it lasts, ladies and gentlemen, if you had fond memories of the multiple transporter pads, etc., because this is not going to be hanging around for very long. There is a new Earth Spacedock in the works. It is getting a fairly extensive refit. And by extensive, I mean complete gut everything and rebuild from the ground up. Whether or not this is going to lend any credit to the rumours that Earth Spacedock is destroyed, or at least takes a severe battering during the Season 9 premiere, we will have to see. Starfleet Academy is unchanged, but if I now ask for a beam up to Earth Spacedock, well, Chief Chushen, actually, let's pull that back for a second, because Chief Chushen isn't there where he was. Well, in truth, they're replacing the entire set, so perhaps that's understandable. It should be borne in mind that, well, Tribble is Tribble. This is very much a work in progress. However, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to be able to present you an early version of the new and improved Earth Spacedock. Yes, indeed, we now have one major transporter pad. The bloom is a little sharp on this single pad, although that may just be my graphics settings, and you can see here that they've modernised the decor to match the new design styles. Interestingly, as we head up the ramp to Club 47, or at least what will be Club 47, you can see that the Beam to Starfleet Academy option remains active some way off the pad. I can only assume that this is for the assistance of cadets who are a little bit inebriated and need to get back the morning after the night before. Right, Ensign Velda is in fact our bartender here. As you can see, a lot of names and uniforms do need tweaking, but this will be Club 47 when they get the decor fixed. It's a little Spartan at the moment. The DJ hasn't got half her equipment, so hey, what can you do except just move on with it. Also, you need to pay a bit of attention here. Some of these have windows in them, some of these passageways don't, and it can be quite hard to tell which is which until you walk into it. So maybe that needs to be attended to. Also, glass needs to be put in here at these side panes just to seal it up. Our Ferengi friends, of course, have survived the transition. No one's yet booted them off the station. More's the pity. Moving on round, we have the new sick bay. This is very much the modern 25th century design. The chief medical officer has his own office. Here we are, so he has all his usual dialogue. Note that his background still hasn't been updated. Remember, this is work in progress. And we now have 3 beds and... excuse me. 3 beds and a single ICU bed. It has to be noted that if this is a starbase serving multiple thousands of crew and personnel, well, maybe we need to add a door and access to an implied lower level in here. Then again, maybe that's it there. What does this say? Authorised personnel only. Have your identification ready by authorisation of Directive 49001A. Also, do we just get some clipping issues there? Yes, we did. Is that a... Is that a level of detail thing? Yes, because it's happening when I go in from a very particular radius. Could be level of detail, I suppose. There's also a seam there at the top of the wall. Not quite sure what's causing that. If it was purely a proximity thing, you'd expect it to flicker when I move towards it as well, but it's not doing that. Very curious. Anyhow, we also have a reception. No receptionist I have to add. And moving on around, we come to the revamped shipyard, which is a lot more open and gives you a much better view of the main docking array. Now, the fact that we've got the classic saucer docking area here makes me think that Spacedock might take a beating, but it won't be completely destroyed, if indeed that's how they're going to excuse the change this time. Remember, of course, last time we had a update to Earth Spacedock, it was basically hand-waved off as Q was bored and got nostalgic. Anyhow, Captain Yim is here, having nicked his glass from the old Club 47 before they evicted him. Or maybe not, because that just disappeared. Oh. Okay, that's curious. Is that an animation thing? Let's see what happens when he goes around the loop. No, I think it's just tied into his animations. He takes a swig, and yeah, I think that's a problem with the way the animations are handling it. Anyhow, that perhaps needs some attention, but it's a minor detail you have to be paying attention to notice. Anyway, moving on round to the shipyard proper. Remember, Alpha is Alpha, Beta is Beta, Tribble is Tribble. This is nowhere near done. You can see here we're missing half the detail consoles for the crew to be working on. A lot of the equipment guys are in the wrong places and again don't have their consoles. We still have this spectacular view. That Miranda class really does need some texture work done. I mean, from here, the dorsal source textures look very badly distorted. And of course, name and registry and running lights would be handy as well. Everyone is present and correct. I imagine they will have proper workstations in a later build. It's a lot roomier, a lot more open, and a lot potentially easier to navigate. You can go straight from selection to equipment to customization to repairs and just get everything done without having to cross a zone line as you've always had to do in Earth Spacedock before. Continuing on round, we have another little viewing area if you want to just gawp at Cryptic's latest offerings of starships. I notice they've got the Vesta front and centre at the moment. It's an optical illusion, unfortunately, from the relatively high position we're on in the main dome at the moment, that it looks like the Vesta's bridge is clipping into the roof. It really isn't. You can see there if I jump that the parallax makes it clear that that's not the case. maybe eliminate a couple of these support beams just to give a better view. Particularly these two central ones. Just a thought. At the moment it starts looking quite... It's almost obstructed because of these support pillars left and right. Oh yes, and it is apparently an open fire zone. Weapons aren't doing any damage in here, but you can fire away. So again, that may be something to fix. Continuing on, we have got an interesting new logo here. Now, my Latin is rusty in the extreme, but I'm reading that top half as to boldly go to the... Sorry, let us go boldly to the stars, roughly translated. More accurate, I suppose it would be to the stars, boldly let us go. But hey, English cares a bit more about word order than Latin ever did, so... Oh, what's going on here? Open door. I have no idea what I've just found here. Choose your away team. Let's see what's in here. Have I just found a quick... Oh, wait. No, I think I know what this is. It's the quick hop to the Dyson Sphere battle zone. Terrific. Hadn't actually wanted to do that. Let's hope there's a quick transport out, or this may take a while. Come on, send me back to Spacedock. Come on, Spacedock, blast it. Right, transwarp. Right, Earth Spacedock, transwarp, go. Right, so that, as it turns out, was actually talking to the Voth who was standing next to us. It wasn't opening a door at all. That needs to be attended to. Yes, indeed. So, where were we? Quietly hoiking back to the starbase, and we can dock again, and this should get us back to the new model interior. It's purely docking automatically via actually flying into the base that gets you to the old version at the moment. There may be other methods, but I haven't found any of them. This console, by the way, is the bank. It's in a rather odd position at the moment, but maybe it'll get moved later on. Anyhow, back to where we were. So, Latin motto, Voth Medic offering you a quick transport. In Alice Fidelium, doesn't quite translate. Alice is a suffix in Latin. It turns a noun or a numeral into an adjective. So, hopefully someone whose knowledge of Latin is better than mine will be able to provide a better translation. Anyhow, Mr. Redshirt, our new scale reference for work in progress. We also have a new auxiliary shuttle bay. There are a couple of these dotted about, as you will see as we work our way around the base. It does need a little bit of attention here. As you see, it's all very much in the primitives and work in progress stage. Very much in the work in progress stage. I assume those are going to be brought down to ground level at some point, and the red shirts removed. This is going to be the exchange when it's finished. I hope they move the bank terminal over here as well, maybe integrate it into these consoles here on the wall, or that is going to become seriously inconvenient to have to repeatedly leg it halfway across the base and back if I need to run multiple auctions. Anyhow, no thank you, I don't want to open that door. I've already tried it, I didn't like the results. Moving on round again, we have what appears to be the commercial district. You see, we have a nice little miniature gun here, along with Grim and the Ferengi Collector. Again, somehow these guys haven't been booted off the station yet, but hey, wonders will never cease. We also have another of the mini shuttle bays. In fact, no, it's the same one. You can see the other window over there. And the commodity brokers are in here. Command brokers Foss and Hose. I assume they have had a spat of some kind since they're no longer talking to each other and on opposite sides of the room. Who knows? Right. Ensign Lesser has finally got a store of her own, and to judge by that, I'd say she's not in the mood for giving out refunds. I assume also that eventually we'll have a dilithium ground vendor here. Judging by the more advanced models of gear on display on this side, then again, I could be talking utter junk. Also, uniform mannequins, it would be nice to think that those will get updated to some of the stuff that they sell here, like, for example, the body armor types. Anyhow, let's move on round. In the store opposite, we have the tailor. He is, of course, a Cardassian, as is traditional. Gimmick Tailor has got a new store of his own as well. Some very fancy artwork. Again, the uniform mannequins probably need to be switched around. We also have changing rooms, which is a nice touch, if a completely non-functional one. Still, it's nice to have it being done. Although, why there is a large business-like console next to it, I have no idea. Who cares? Continuing to move on around the base, we come back to the main concourse and what can best be summed up as the business area of the base. Now, a word of warning here, the background audio still needs balancing in here. It is about to go a little bit freakish. I may have to adjust it down. So, Admiral Quinn finally got tired of waiting and decided to get himself an office with a view. And get one he did. He also got a map. That, interestingly, is the Series 6 block. It's turned through 90 degrees to fit for some reason. Apparently, the Eta Eridani block is no longer his principal concern, which makes a certain amount of sense. Things have gone quiet with the Klingons of late. The commander, I believe, is one of the Foundry counterparts. No, it's the Romulan ambassador. Right. Okay, so that needs tweaking, and Giro is still hanging on. Apparently, Jarell hasn't gotten so mad as to throw him out of the office, or maybe they just haven't found him a new one. Heading down, we have what I assume will eventually be the Starbase's principal operations deck. We have got the fleet officer here, along with the assignment officer, and a few other bits and pieces, including Commander Bolt, who I'm pretty sure is redundant these days. That ensign you meet in the academy now handles your initial orientation to Spacedock. We also have Okret, skill trainer, and all the other skill and bridge officer NPCs down here. We also have a nice little conference room here, so those of you in a role-playing mode might well find something to use here. There's also an interesting door at the back that might be worth using as a Foundry portal. Also, new model of chair. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen those in-game before. And if we come out of the window, well, the meter-thick transparent aluminium is blocking the view somewhat. We also have some proximity-activated consoles, which is kind of a nice touch. Starfleet has presumably picked up the technology from the Dyson Sphere, even if they weren't already using it. I vaguely remember the Countdown comics had this tech aboard the refitted Enterprise E when Data was captain, and you also have a view of the outlying shipyards, including an ambassador and what looks like either no, that's a straight Akira design in dock there. Of course, the old favourites are also here. Captain Sulu is in attendance, as is Commander Burgess, just staying at the hologram with nothing to do. Also, does this say anything? USS whatever, class spaceship. Starfleet's IFF system needs work. Anyhow, we also have, despite the label, the Ensign Medic is in fact our security officer duty officer contact, so traditional options are here: turn over contraband, prisoners, deliver changeling, etc, etc. And this console apparently is an interact. We have found a combat EV suit pack, right, so that has been standardised and it immediately unpacks into a Federation combat suit. So that's going to be the new veteran and special rewards console on this version of the base. That view really is rather pretty though. Not sure about the sheer amount of blurriness it's stuck onto Earth though. Maybe we could get somebody out there with a bottle of Windoline and a cloth. Worth a thought. Anyhow, Earth Spacedock's revamp, ladies and gentlemen, in its original state. Leaving aside that this is still a very, very early work in progress and there is going to be a lot of bug fixing in the weeks and months to come. What do I think? Yeah, actually, I kind of like it. It's got everything into a single zone, so you don't have to cross a zone line and a loading marker to get to the shipyard, which is a definite plus point these days. They've prettied it up, they've brought the architecture and the lighting and all the improvements they've made into play. Yeah, I have to admit, I kind of like it in its current state. Hopefully I will like it even more once they get the bugs worked out. So, that has been the Earth Spacedock. The other major change, and I've only been going for 20 minutes, so you don't get rid of me yet, is that the kit system is getting a revamp. We're all familiar with the old kit system. You had fixed abilities and basically you were stuck. So you had physicists, which gave you induction field, radiation, sonic pulse and gravitic field. You had medic, which gave you all the hidden abilities, and never the two could meet. Excuse me. With the new system, ladies and gentlemen, they can meet. So for example, we have a Science Kit Mark 10. Logic. You can see here that I've kind of fitted it up for medics, so we have got the classic healing abilities, vascular regenerator, medical tricorder, and triage, but I've also put in the exothermic induction field. So that gives me a decent spread of healing abilities, plus it gives me the option to set the ground on fire if I so wish. Now, the way these work is actually quite simple. Each kit comes with a certain number of slots. At Mark 10 Green you get 4 of them. Each class, Science, Tactical Engineering, has got 2 types of slot. In the case of Science kits, you get the Research modules, you also get Medic modules. And basically every ability that you had as a bridge officer before and as a captain on board your kits is now a module. So for example, I have the... where did I leave them? Yep, here we are. The Tachyon Harmonic module, or the Sonic Pulse module, etc, etc, etc. It's all very simple, and you literally just drag and drop into the kit to equip it. It's as simple as that. You can see it's automatically slotted the ability, and I have access to it again. You cannot put a research module into a medical slot. So the number of slots you have does rather dictate the balance of the kit. So in this case, 3 medical slots, 1 research slot. It's pretty passive, it's pretty defensive. Equally, there are 2-2 splits. You can go 3-1 the other way. I'm not sure if there is a 4-0 split on any of these kits. I haven't seen one, but it wouldn't be impossible. All it is an extra line in the inventory database. In addition, each kit comes with a bonus, in this case logic, adding 20.6 skill to probability logistics, so that's effectively all my control options. It's also worth noting that it is updating the info on the fly depending on which modules you have equipped. I have a few other kits in here as well. So, for example, we have got weapon proficiency, which is never a bad thing. Threat control, which might be a bad thing because generally as a science officer I don't want to be generating threat. However, a tank spec tac or NG might very well like that. And then we've got another logic kit. Oh, sorry, a science kit, so that's just general science abilities, debuffs and the like, and of course, armour. Generally, these kit bonuses will improve either a baseline skill or something more advanced on your career tracks. So, for example, weapon proficiency and combat armour get boosts. But I'm not going to see a boost for, say, grenades on a science kit because that makes no sense whatsoever. Then again, wouldn't be the first time something odd like that has happened. In fact, such a kit might be valuable. But then again, a science officer is never going to throw a grenade in his life. We always ducked out of baseball classes. So, it's actually pretty simple. Some of the old kits haven't converted properly as yet. You see I've still got my old Medic and Physicist Mark 10 kits here, but I assume Cryptic will be working on that as this nears release. So we'll just pop that in. again, you can see it's automatically put in. Also worth noting, it has triggered a 30-second cooldown on the ability. Now, the other thing I want to test is if I can double up, which I don't believe you can. So, tricorder Mark 10, tricorder Mark 10. Let's see what happens. No, it's blocking me completely. So you cannot double up on your abilities. That's worth knowing. We'll just load in the triage instead. And there we go. It's worth noting, by the way, that the kits appear to have lost their visuals before. And indeed, even if I load in my traditional medic kit, you'll notice that the ability to deploy the visual overlay on the armour has disappeared. So, right now, curiously enough, I can't visualise armour either, which is a bit of an oddity. That may well be a bug. However, we shall see. So, we have the new kits, we have the new Spacedock. As an early Time Warp goes, Season 9 might be looking promising, ladies and gentlemen. I have been neutral. That has been the Tribble Timewarp for the 16th of March. And until next time, farewell.